How do we even start it?
Okay, guys.
Oh, happy 4th of
Thanks
July.
for
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's what today is. So they'll probably come out the day after. So if you're listening, it's probably the day after Independence Day.
even telling them this.
What do you
It's
mean?
gonna be like out like a week after.
No, no. I'll totally be out like very soon.
Yeah.
Look, time is
All
relative,
right.
okay?
Well, anyway, thanks for joining us today for another TTPS, I guess. We have kind of a fun topic that somebody actually gave us in the comments. So
I have
we
the quote
actually
up right
read the
here.
comments on YouTube and we answer. So if you're interested in, asking us something, or if you have a funny topic you want us to talk about in these, please feel free to just put it in the comments. But today we're going to talk about
Well, first of
how
all, this comment comes from Rick the Gunslinger. Just that's yeah, and like he said, it was from one of our other discussions. And
he's an ultra Chad, by the way. I mean, guy named Rick who is also a gunslinger. Come on, that's
he's
that's
he's
that's
the
massive
gunslinger.
Chad energy.
He's not Rick
Chad
a
energy right
gunslinger.
there.
He's Rick the Gunslinger. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
but basically, what he says is, could you guys talk about some of your favorite non-AR rifles, non-Glock pistols, and what would you do to improve or modernize it? Which is a pretty good topic, I think, because you know, you always look at people and what do they have? Well, AR Glock, which is not a bad choice because if I want to recommend people and they ask, hey, what should I get for my, first rifle, first pistol? It's probably going to be an AR and Glock. And just because, well, they're cheap and they're reliable and you can get tons of parts for them, right? So that's kind of just the norm now. That's the predominant norm. But every once in a while, you want to be different. So what else is out there?
Look, I just Googled this.
Mhm.
AR Glock users, obviously, it's like, I mean, this is the pinnacle right here for guys who use ARs and Glocks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to take the two things that's your favorite and combine them into
Oh
one.
my god. That's yeah, so
Well, so
for
to
you audio listeners, it's basically the Recover Tactical, which is they
But this
make
is the
chassis for
new,
Glock.
like the new chassis, because
Yeah.
the P-IX Plus is like their new version, which kind of looks like an AR, but then it has like three Glock mags inserted into it. I mean, like this thing is awesome.
Yeah.
You know what it looks like? It looks like
Hmm.
maybe like for instance Titanfall or like some kind of like video
Yeah.
game future gun, but it's like mini, like kind of like the airsoft guns that like make like a mini AEG.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Where
No,
it's
I
like
know.
squished down. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's the car. Yes, the car SMG. That's what it reminds me of. But it kind of. The mag is a lot fatter, but it's the same idea. You have those like backward swept mags, which is like the coolest thing ever. Um, yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's a topic that comes up like pretty often. I think if you're in kind of the you know gun sphere circle, or if you have like a group of friends that like to talk about guns because you want to be different, right? Because otherwise we'd all be driving Hondas or
Actually, to be
Toyotas.
honest, nobody actually wants to be different. That's why it's interesting.
Really?
Because well, okay, think about this though. If let's say like you have a group of friends that you go and shoot with, and like let's say the friends that you shoot with are pretty like serious about their training, like they dry fire a lot, they actually shoot a lot, and they like try to essentially like you know they shoot with like shot timers, like that's like a big indicator. Like if your group of friends shoots with shot timers, that's like an indicator that it's like okay, you're pretty serious about your training, right? If this is the case, it's almost guaranteed to be like 99.9% of the time everyone's running ARs and Glocks. Like it's there's very there is some deviation to this, but it's very little usually. So basically, like that's why it's the whole idea behind like running something that's non-AR and non-Glock is like interesting or like different, or people want to see that because it's kind of like we have this dude that we shoot with sometimes, and like he came up with this idea where it's like, okay, we're gonna go out and shoot because usually like we go out and like we do a lot of drills and we train for real. So basically, it's like you're not just like fucking around or plinking. So when we go out, sometimes he's like, all right, guys, this time when we go out, no ARs, no Glocks. What are you bringing? And so like that's like, oh, we always think like kind of like think about like what are we going to use, but we haven't really like actually tried to run non-AR, non-Glock guns for like a serious like training event, right? So when we got this suggestion, I was like, oh, this is actually like brilliant to like try to talk about like how you would utilize a non-AR, non-Glock, because that's just kind of like the standard across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I guess yes. So I guess wanting to be different and like act, but then also, well, like you said, wanting to be good are not always inclusive, right? Because it's like I think people still want to be different, but they don't want to sacrifice the performance. Like if you're performance driven, right? So I think that's where it's kind of that's why AR is the gold standard because it's been around so long and there's so much like training, there's so much techniques and so many parts that's made, for it, right? Like everybody else is trying to ironically catch up to the AR, even if they come after it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think like really that's just that one, you have like that high level of modularity. So like a lot of users can just make it like whatever they want, and then
Yeah.
they can feel like their AR is like super special.
Well, I mean, like, right, like look at all the like the modern replacements for AR, right? They're basically just AR with a different shell, like SIG, right? The MCX, right? It's still it's not an AR, right? But at the end of the day, it's still an AR. But for people that want to be different, it is different, but they don't sacrifice like going to a completely different platform like an AK.
But you can get AKs that run AR mags, right?
I mean, and that's what I was actually going to get to. It's like it's funny you brought it up because because the whole point of like modernized AKs is like, hey, how do I get AR controls and AR modularity on an AK? Like when you just look for
Yeah.
like like modernized
That's
ARs, right?
That
Or
I think is
modernized
like the
AKs.
funniest thing to me because like AKs are like so different, but then like
Yeah.
when you see guys running AR, basically AR furniture and AKs, it's like, bruh,
Mhm.
just get an AR, you know? Like,
Yeah, like the AK-12 has like thumb selector, right? Or just like
Mhm.
that's a huge departure from the traditional
Yeah,
AK, but that's like an AR thing, or that's the thing that AR has like standardized, basically.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
All right, so let's get into. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? Like, what is your number one choice for a non-AR, non-Glock setup?
So I guess like I actually just thought of this, or when he said like what's your favorite, I'm guessing it's like so it's probably something that like we actually have experience or like close enough to. And I think for me it's like I've got a few, so let's well, not a few, but like I can name like a top three because I thought it's like it would be more interesting to do
Well, I
like
guess the other part of it is
than
that
just
like,
one.
does it only qualify if you actually own the gun? Because then
Well,
it's like,
or if
or
it's
can you
like
just be like,
available, like I feel like it qualifies. It's like something that's like you could actually get and
okay,
or you have experience on. You know what I mean?
hmm,
Like
yeah,
because it's like I don't know. Like I don't have a dumb example off the top of my head would be like I don't know, like the Rex revolver. Right? It's like it's cool and I would love to have one, but there's no way in hell I'm gonna get one, right?
yeah,
So um I'm not saying that's like
like
my favorite.
Chiappa Rhino, just as good.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I think off rip, probably the AUG, I would say.
I knew
Like
you were gonna say that.
I think so like God, I always spell Steyr wrong. So for me, like I think the Steyr AUG is my favorite non AR rifle. That's available, but it needs still could use a lot of improvements.
Yeah, you know what? You know what it needs is it needs Phantom Og.
Yes, that's totally a thing.
Yes. This is definitely an achievable thing that you can own.
Yeah, you can just buy straight off e-bike. But
Yeah, I really don't understand why this doesn't actually exist.
what?
Like why not, doesn't somebody just make one? You know what I mean?
Because there's no like, I mean, like somebody would have to. I mean, supposedly it's just an integrally suppressed, AUG, right? Or like
Yeah.
log AUG with an integrally suppressed barrel, which is doable. You're right, but I just don't think it's popular. Like, what's the point? Like, why not just throw a suppressor on it? Like.
Yo, what's the point? It's a Phantom AUG. Come on,
Yeah,
bro.
I think if okay, you know what I would say? I think if suppressors weren't NFA items, right, with all the like the tax stamp and the wait time, I think you would see it as a thing because, and this brings me why I love the AUG so much, because of the quick barrel change. Think about it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like if you have a suppressed barrel and you're like, oh, I want to use it now, just pop the whole thing off and pop it on, right?
So that's like why I'm so curious about like why it basically doesn't exist. Like of all the AUGs out there and all the people that own AUGs and also the prevalence of people acquiring and using silencers or suppressors, it's like so I mean suppressors are so popular, you know what I mean? So it just feels like there's not even like one guy out there that also happens to know about Phantom AUGs that isn't just like I want to make one for real. You know what I mean? Like it's just so like interesting to me that like it still kind of doesn't exist, you know?
Maybe. I mean, maybe it does exist. We just don't know. Maybe
Maybe.
maybe
Well,
us.
or at least it doesn't exist to the degree of like, oh, like there's a video on YouTube about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like look at that Ratworks thing that they made for the IWI Tavor. It's like, dude, that like somebody made it in a Phantom Tavor basically.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the Styre's been around for so much longer in terms of like availability and stuff. It's like, why doesn't someone just make it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably just not that popular, right? It's like
Yeah.
AUGs are both popular and unpopular. It's one of those like
Yeah.
weird like it's mainstream. Like I said, it's been around for so long. It's like it's like what, like 50, 60 years old now.
Yeah, but
Like,
especially because Steyr didn't like okay, they basically like they didn't really stop production. Like you can still go out and buy like new like basically this their last year production AR or AUGs. So
yeah.
it's like, this gun is like they keep pumping them out. So it's like as they keep pumping them out, more and
Yeah.
more people are buying them, right? So it just feels like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's like why isn't the AUG like more popular or like why don't people make more stuff for it, I guess.
I think it's the same thing when it came out. I think it's just too different. Like I don't think it's a
Yeah.
bad gun, but it's just too different. So my example being like the Hellion, right? Like the Hellion, I don't know, I didn't really follow up like the VHS, whatever, the success of it, but I've shot one because my friend has one, so I've played with one, and then I can understand why the Hellion could be popular because it's very similar. Like it has AR style controls, right? Like mag release and selector. The AUG is completely different. Like it's a completely different manual of arms compared to using an AR. So I think it's like you have to like to be an AUG like fanboy or like to use an AUG, you have to like you're committed to using an AUG if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And if you don't even get the NATO AUG or the basically the one that takes AR mags, you're forced to use proprietary mags as well. So
But the mags are like not even that expensive and
they're
they're
not.
like available, right?
Yeah.
So like it's like such a weird dichotomy because there are so many things about the AUG that makes it like a hard gun to use, but then at the same time, there's a lot of things about it that's like you could just do it. Like if you really wanted to,
No.
like
Yes.
today I could just go buy an AUG, I could buy all the proprietary mags or just get the NATO one. It's got like rails and shit, and like the new ones have like a lot of like rail like space to like add stuff to it. So it's like, dude, I mean, like you could make it, right? Like it's definitely like a doable thing. It's just people just don't do it.
People just I think it's just people just don't know or understand how
Yo,
like
the
good the AUG is.
CQC one.
Yeah, and exactly the CQC, right? That gives you all the rail space that you need to mount light laser in a small
Yo,
package.
this is the Mark 18 bullpup, bruh.
That basically it is a quad rail, yeah. And yeah, and I think this is one where like not it being just quad rail Picatinny isn't like a detriment compared to like M-Lock or Skinny, because it's like it gives you just enough rail space that like M-Lock wouldn't really help you, maybe other than like slimming it down. But the gun's already pretty slim, and it followed the profile pretty well.
That mag is pretty funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if I were to modernize it to make it more, again, user friendly or AR friendly, would probably just somehow change the mag release and change the selector, right? Like, otherwise it's pretty much, because I think that's the biggest pain back when I use it or when people use it. So it's just too different. Like, and I think that's going to be a running trend. It's like for all the topics that come up today, or for all the ones that come up today, it's like, how do we just make it mimic AR or Glock? Like in terms of ergonomics and controls, because
the gold standard.
I mean, so like the AUG has so. In the military version, it kind of makes sense. And also, because the AUG has a push bar safety. You see this, like, there's this above the trigger, there's a push bar, like, goes left and right. It's kind of like your classic, like, old, like, Ruger 1022 or, like, shotgun safeties. You just push it to one side or the other. On the military one, there's, you can push it all the way. It's, quote unquote, full auto, but when you half pull the trigger, it's semi, and when you fully depress, it's full auto. So it's not a bad system, but it's just too different from and it's slower, I guess, than flicking it up and down. But that's something you could work, and just practice. And I think it would be just as fast, but it's just, why not make it a lever then? Just make it an AR. And then the new ones, so I have an AUG A1. The new ones, the AUG A3s and later, they do have a bolt release and and an actual bit catch. So that is something they did add.
The tab that's right above the mag release.
Yeah, that's the tab. So, and I think that is a welcome change, and that's probably a good place to put it, because it's very similar to AR, right? Where your thumb would be after you insert the mag. If I want to reload my A1, the last round does lock back, but then I still have to pull the charging handle back, lock it up like an HK, right, and then put the mag in and then let it down. Or I'll put the mag in and I still have to hold the charging handle because I still have to drop the bolt. So this is a good change. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. There's really nothing else I would change.
Okay, so here's the other question: is what sidearm would you use with the AUG?
Oh, okay. Oh man, that's
because it's a pair, right? You gotta. Okay. It's like no AR, no Glock. So then it's like, what sidearm would you pair with? I love how it's also not like, it doesn't really matter, but at the same time it kind of does, because you're not like picking like a Glock, right?
Yeah. There are stuff I want to pick, but if I guess like in the sense of like being like more usable or practical, I probably I'll probably end up going with the VP9.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why?
It's a cheap USP. Like, I love USPs, but USPs, to me, they're just cool. But they aren't as comfortable to me. Like, and I usually hate, so like on a Glock, I hate the finger grooves, but for some reason, like, I love it on the VP9. I guess they're just cut better because it's rounder and it's just more comfortable.
The ergonomics on it is pretty unparalleled.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of like features that I do like, and so you got like ambi controls, right? Like completely ambi controls. With paddle release mags, which some people hate it, but I love it. I guess I don't mind it.
They also make a push button release.
Oh, do they? I didn't know.
Well,
that.
It's a totally different gun though. Like the frame is totally different.
Okay. Yeah.
But basically, it just makes it so it's a push button rather than the paddle.
Yeah.
But you don't get ambi though. It's single head only.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they basically it's the VP9-B that they made for the U.S. market.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a solid shooter, striker fired, no safety, just like a Glock. You got the winglets in the back that help you rack it. I don't really know if you need it, like, but I guess it's there. I don't know. This is where I'm like, this is kind of a cop out because it's like we're just looking for a non-Glock Glock.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the closest thing I can think of, right? In the kind of the capacity, the weight, and the handling, and I shoot it better than Glocks. But like, or I just go for like a USP if I want more style. But it's basically the same idea. It's like, hey, I'm just looking for a non-Glock Glock. But if we want to be very different, then I'll just pick like a Sig P210. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, okay. So like, I mean, this actually, okay. No, you know what? Because Rick asked, how would you do to modernize it or update it? I will go with the Sig P210 and I'll make it double stack. I mean, that's about it. Like double stack and get a rail. That's about it. Yeah.
God, you should tell them about how you had that idea to make a compact back in the day before the Sig American came out.
Oh no, it was terrible. I can't talk about it. It was bad.
Okay, but I mean now it exists, so you can literally just buy it.
Yeah,
like,
the P210
carry. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, yeah, to modernize it, since the new Americans already have a thumb, push button safety. Not safeties, push button release. That's really all you needed,
and actually a usable safety.
Yes, and a usable safety. So so those are the two things that they already fixed. So the only thing would be making it double stack. Or like, doesn't have to be, maybe not super double stack. It can be like 1.5 stack. Just have them more than 8 rounds, right? So it's like I would take like 12 rounds. So I'll be happy with that. And then maybe an RMR cut. Like I'm not a huge like dot pistol fan guy, but I guess for the market and the current market and people, be nice to have one. But definitely have like a Picatinny rail on the bottom, just so you can mount like lights and accessories. But yeah, I mean, really, that's it.
Would that even be possible with how slim the slide is in the 210 to like mount like an optic or like an RMR?
Probably not. It'll have to be one. It will probably need like a larger, like flared base plate. So I imagine you would cut it out to have mounts, but then the base plate itself, it'll be like a base. You know what I mean? Like it would go on top, so you would like have a really flared look. You just have to basically have a base plate. But if you don't have it, then it would just look slim. And really,
I need that. I need that thing where it's just a floating reticle, electronically produced. Like there's no window or nothing.
Yeah. I like blade style, iron sights. So I don't really mind it, but I pick it because it's comfortable and it's stupid fun to shoot and easy to shoot. And yeah, that's about it. Like, I don't think there's anything that's what I would pick. Yeah, then an AUG and a SIG. That's what I would pick. What
Most
about you,
random
man?
combination ever. Okay, so
okay. What did you want me to pick, then? The Steyr M9, so I can go double Steyr.
It was actually kind of thing. Okay, so that actually directly leads into my thing, because I did my homework before the podcast, and I actually came up with 3 loadouts. And basically, I'm gonna like rapid fire.
I do have 3 loadouts as well. Okay, we just spent way long. Okay, so you go yours.
Okay, all right. So I just want to say, and I'm gonna preface it a little bit with a little bit of a teaser. Okay, so
okay.
The first one is gonna be Team FN. All right?
Oh no!
And then my second one is going to be Team Beretta.
Oh no!
And then my third one is going to be Team Sig. So,
oh no!
So let's start with the Team FN. Okay. Mm-hmm. So my primary is going to be obviously FS2000. FN's greatest achievement. And just basically the best gun in the world. Mm-hmm. Fight me, mate. You can't argue me out of this one. This is literally unbeatable. All right, ARs, stuck it.
It's funny.
First of all,
It's funny
you
you
can,
brought the. It's funny you thought of the FS2000 because I also thought of three, and then just so I don't seem super partial, I had to take the FS2000 off, so I'm not picking three pulp ups because I was gonna pick three pulp ups.
oh my god! I mean, I kind of thought you would because it's like okay, I was like, there's no way he's not gonna pick the AUG, and then I'm like, okay, well, FS2000, that's in the bracket too. So
I had to
yeah,
take it off, yeah. So
yeah.
I picked one non bullpup. But anyways, okay. So you got the
So
FS2000. Let me get.
so
I think we already know where your sidearm is, but yes.
so okay, well, let me explain the FS2000 first. So mine is cut down a little bit from the standard length one because I think the normal. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're giving it away.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
So, okay, so the FS2000, I cut mine down from a 17-inch barrel, which I think is the
Uh-huh.
factory length,
Uh-huh.
to 14.5. So my muzzle device just sticks out just past the receiver. So it's kind of like closer to the military style F2000. And then I did nothing else to the gun. So basically, it's pretty much just a completely stock SC3000. Um, you know, don't hate me for this, but there may have been some influences in my past life that led me to this conclusion. But it is the greatest gun of all time, and you know, basically to put this together with a sidearm, I have chosen obviously the greatest handgun in the world, the FN57. Because it gives you the best wound vectors out of any gun performance out there. It has high capacity. Standard magazine is 20 armor piercing rounds, as well as the extended magazines that hold up to 30 rounds, and the entire gun with a 30 round magazine weighs less than most guns with 15 round mags in them. So it's just unbeatable. I mean, it's got a match trigger in it. The safety is located in a really weird position that you would never guess, and it's also extremely difficult to disassemble. So what's not to love about it? I mean, it's so great. And also, it's completely plastic, meaning that it will pass any metal detectors.
That's not legal advice. Don't. Yeah, it's not a porcelain block.
So basically, I don't understand why people don't love 5.7s. I mean, it's literally the greatest gun in the world. There's no greater.
Probably because people don't want to spend double the price of the Glock to shoot like triple the price of the ammo.
Yeah, but completely flat trajectory out to 100 yards. I mean, come on, that's amazing.
Yeah, 5.7 was on my list too. So,
I knew it.
I mean, but really, we talked about this. Like, every other gun you would pick is literally just how do we get to a not Glock, right? The 5.7 is really one of the few that actually stands apart from the rest, and especially as a polymer frame gun, right? Because the P210, it's metal. It's always the SIGs are metal, so they give it a little pass because it's different, right? 1911, but this is the only polymer frame gun that is very, very different from just every other Glock and Glock clones out there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's I have spent a decent amount of time shooting the FS2000 as well as the 5.7, and they're obviously not gonna replace my AR or Glock usage, but at the same time, they do have their own interesting and sort of unique features. And the thing is, with the FS2000, I think the only advantage it really gives me is I'm running a 14-inch barrel in a way compact design in terms of the overall length. Granted, she's got a super fat ass on her, so it's whether it's compact is kind of arguable. And the trigger is pretty terrible, but it's just one of those things where I think it's the lines and contour of the whole thing being that it looks like a yacht. It's just for me, I think even though it looks clunky, it actually fits me very well. My hand size and my body shape, it actually fits me pretty nicely. So it's I can shoot it pretty well.
That's a
And
holdover
then
from like old military days. Still, it's like the AUG and the FS 2000, the F 2000 were designed around the time, and they were designed as military rifles, and they still had the requirement of, hey, we got to be able to store supplies like cleaning kit in like the buttstock. That's why like the AUG and FS 2000 has like such a big butt, because there's a, like a storage compartment in there. They had to build it, but really, it's like, for example, if you look at, spoiler, like a Keltec, right? RDB, like they're or even like the bullpup AKs, you don't even need it. Like there is no quote, it's like stock. It literally just, straight and small. So the only reason the F 2000 and the AUG is that fat is just because they left a huge space in there to put a cleaning kit in. So,
excuse me, it's a snack compartment.
yeah, you're right. It actually Skittles fit in there. Like one of those like fun size pack of Skittles fit in there perfectly.
Like, I mean, there's some things that are interesting about the FS 2000 that I like. Like, for example, the fact that it only takes GI mags, which is like one of those things where, yeah, it's seen as a negative, but the gasket basically seals up all of the open space around the magazine so that it's water submersible, because you can't just put ARs in the water. They'll just break immediately.
Yeah. So can you go visit the Titanic in it?
Oh, definitely.
Too
I mean,
soon?
this thing alone will. I mean, I can go inside the compartment and then go to see the Titanic. There's actually an Xbox controller inside the FS 2000.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're terrible.
Oh yeah, here's a picture of the X-ray. So if you look literally all the way in the back, you can see the fire control group, or the basically the hammer pack or trigger pack in the back, and under all that, it's all just space. Like there's nothing in there.
The other thing about the F 2000 is it allows you to fire 3 rounds before any casings come out of the gun.
That was 4.
So I think the 4th one is the one that opens it.
Okay. I always thought it was 4 and the 5th one pops it, but either way.
Oh, well, okay. So maybe you get 3 to 4 shots untraceable and undetected before before you're leaving evidence behind. So
yeah, it's like a revolver. It's like a revolver feature, no shells.
Yes, yeah. But I think that's like so cool, and the fact that the because there's an entire tube to have the casings go down it, then basically like you just have casings trickling out of the gun rather than like ejecting super far away from you. So like for the brass goblins at the range, it's like all you have to do is just shoot above a bucket, and then like the casings just fall right into the bucket right below you, and then you can just take the brass home and reload it.
So how would you do to modernize it? Like, what would you change on it?
So the toughest part about the FS 2000, in my opinion, this is actually the only thing that I have a problem with it is it doesn't have a very good sling option. So, like, I would say that there are options out there, like you can kind of see in some of those pictures here where it's got the little nylon straps in a cross. If you want to click one of those, but basically like there's like a nylon strap thing that goes around the back end of the gun, and then you just like clip in a sling. Sometimes it's like 1 point, and then I think there's like a loop on the front that you can like either use a claw hook or something if you wanted to do a 2-point style. It's just one of those things where I wish there was a better solution. I know there's a guy who did something to his where it was kind of like instead of nylon, it was sort of almost like a rubberish strap that goes around, like right in front of where the butt plate is. So you can kind of see 2 little vent holes near the back of the FS 2000. He like basically wove the rubber like strap through it, and then what he did was there's a company that makes a QD socket that just has 2 little like loops through it, that he looped that through, and he put a QD socket on the back. So I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool, because if you have a QD socket on the back side of it, then you can quickly pop the sling on and off, and then you can just maybe claw hook it to the front, or even like at the very front of the pick rail, you could put a QD socket on there. And then that, like, my only complaint about this gun is that it just doesn't have a very good sling attachment system. Otherwise, that's like the thing that I'm missing the most, because if you offset a push button scout light to the left side right above the charging handle, you can still manipulate the charging handle and you can access the light, turn it on and off with your thumb, and then you have some like rail space to put whatever optic you want on there. And I would just put like, I don't know, an EOTech or like a red dot of some kind on there.
Like
The
this
guy
guy
that I
just
got,
looks like
yeah, the guy that I got
that,
my.
sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
that's a kind of a cool mod.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
With
looked
the
like this
QD
guy just
sockets.
plastic welded the QD socket in there. That's actually pretty
I
good.
wonder if that's strong enough to just hold up. Like, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, it probably is. So, like,
Yeah. That's great. Like, that's basically like, if I could, get that on the gun, that dude, I would run the FS2000 all the time. But basically, yeah, I was just gonna say like, that's the only thing I think that I'm really missing on this gun, is that I just don't have like a great way to like sling up the gun. But otherwise, putting a light, putting an optic on it, and then if I really wanted to, I mean, there's room in the front for like a laser. You could put like a, whatever, if you wanted to use a night gun for it. We did kind of explore a little bit of like making an integral light built into the handguard portion. Like kind of like in that picture you were showing earlier, the guy, I think he put like an enforce light or something in there.
yeah,
But basically,
it's a work in progress.
Oh, and then in the bottom right corner, the guy who did the P90 grip mod.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like that's something I probably would, if I were to really run it, I think that would actually be ideal as well, just to be able to grip it in the front with like a little bit more stability with a thumb hole grip. So there are a lot of things you can do to the FS2000. Right now, I don't really have anything special on it. It's just in stock configuration because I'm pretending to be Sam Fisher every day. But basically, there's a lot of cool stuff. Like the guy that I purchased my gun from, he back when you could even do private sales, he basically had an ACOG on it. And he was trying to sell me so hard on putting an ACOG on this gun, because like obviously he kept the ACOG when he sold me the gun, but like he was like, dude, the ACOG is like the best, because he had a couple FS2000s, so his other one obviously had an ACOG as well. So he was like, oh, you gotta get an ACOG for this thing, man. It's like so great on it. And I'm like, okay, bro. I don't know. Like, it's like, did Churchicon like send you your check yet? Like,
I mean, it is a good gun. It's accurate. It's easy to shoot. You get a long barrel.
yeah. I would also say it'd be nice to get like an aftermarket trigger mod on it or something to make the trigger a little better.
Yeah, I got one, and it's night and day difference. Yeah, because the AUG trigger is pretty dog shit too. Like stock AUG triggers, but that's just I think that's just a problem with bullpups, and especially military ones modified to semi-auto only.
Well, so like the Tavor actually did well, I guess they didn't do it themselves, but like because the Tavor is actually, I think, one of the most popular bullpups that are out there on the current market. So there's obviously like a shitload of options for like accessories and like different things like that. So Geisley makes a Tavor trigger, and if you get the lightning bow and their trigger system in there, I mean, it feels just like their Geisley Super Semi-Automatic in an AR, which is crazy to me because of the bullpup like transfer bar system. It's like the fact that they can get it anywhere close to replicating like how the trigger pull is on an AR. That's pretty impressive.
It's fine. You just need some. You just need some crusty Austrian, armor to fix up your AUG, and then for it to have a glass trigger. That's scary. Yeah, when I first bought my AUG, I bought it from a guy. He was an Austrian vet, and he was an armor, I think, and so he sold me his A1 because he was like, "Hey, I wanted to buy the gun I had," and he did some work on it. Like it was like 3.5 pounds on him, like with like no creep. It was almost scary, but it's good. So it's possible, especially with like what he mentioned about the Tavor. So it's possible to get good bullpup triggers. They're just not very standard from factory. And that actually brings me to my second choice. Actually, no, wait. Real quick, what would you do to, I guess, modernize or update the 5.7?
Oh, obviously put a compensator suppressor on it.
I guess that's more like less like, yeah. I mean, that's less like that's more like I was like, is there anything you would change? Like,
Look, the
you mentioned
5.7 is perfect. It
okay.
doesn't need to be changed.
But
But if I
even the weird finger like fucking even the like the weird safety where you have to use it almost like
actually,
a
I actually kind of like it
you
because
like
it
it
kind of
okay.
reminds me of an AK safety.
I was gonna say yeah. I was just gonna say I was like, what is that? It's like yeah, that is an AK
Well,
safety.
so the other thing that's interesting to me is that the safety requires that you use your index finger to
Mhm.
disengage it, meaning your finger
Right.
can't be near
Be
the
on the
trigger.
trigger, yeah.
And then if you just like sweep downward after you disengage, because this is under the assumption that if you're going to use the gun, I mean, if you're going to shoot the gun, then you're already like, ready. Like you've already made the decision. So then if you just sweep the safety down and then your finger goes in the trigger and pulls the trigger, it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of one motion, which is kind of nice. Not to say that it's like a thumb safety wouldn't work just fine, or like, basically like all the other like
No
kind of
safety.
striker systems. But I think that like having like basically the way that the trigger is made, because it's like
Yeah.
it's a very crisp, clean break. Because this gun is marketed as a target shooter. So basically it's like you
Well,
kind
for the
of have like
civilian market.
some yeah, so you have some aspects for this that, well, like, yeah, I mean, the trigger is really nice
No, it
right out
is.
of the
It's a good
box.
gun.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I would say like that's one thing. The, I guess like, like I said, I don't think that I would really change anything on the gun.
No, that's good then.
I would only say that like it would be kind of nice if the gun wasn't as big as it was, I guess. And
Yeah.
also, if the gun, I think the gun needs to come with an option to have combat sights on it. But I don't know if that's like an import restriction or whatnot. And it's like now we're so far past the original design that I'm kind of like over the new designs. Like basically, the new 5.7 is like it's too far departed from the original design, I think. So I would love to have an IOM, but I know I'm probably never going to find one of those. I have the USG, which is basically the one that I currently most associate with because of like Hollywood and movies and all that kind of stuff. And then the Mark II was already like getting too far away from like the original design. And then the Mark III is like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's like basically the Mark III is non-Glock cope on FN's part.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
whole yeah, exactly. Everything is just a Glock, but not Glocks.
Yeah. So I think they lost their way with that, but it is what it is. It's just like I'll take the one that I have and I'll keep running with it. But it's one of those like I guess the only other thing I would modernize about the 5.7 is that the ammo would be cheaper.
So 5.7 and 22 Win Mag.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so I guess yeah, well my second choice combo would be just I guess Team Caltech Lin. Might as well just so
All right,
it's
break it down.
yeah, it should be pretty obviously. Caltech RDB I think is probably the best available like civilian semi-auto like rifle that like for almost anybody actually, and that's even like just like I would recommend this to like just people like to that wants to get into getting a intermediate cartridge 223.556 semi-automatic and at the price point it's like stupid, it's so good. The RFB when it first came out in 308 it was like pretty groundbreaking, but there was a lot of issues I felt like with it. Like it wasn't quite like the controls weren't quite figured out, and it just felt like something was off. But the RDB in 223 almost perfect. Like now I'll just jump ahead. What would I modernize, update it? I don't know. Maybe
Well,
have it come with
hang on one
maybe have
second.
it come with rails, and that's about it.
One of the things that I experienced this myself, where when the RFB first came out, and like anytime Keltec comes out with a new product, like everybody wants to buy it right away. I can't tell you how many dudes wanted to return their RFBs because shooting 308 out of a bullpup with no buffer dampening system,
Yeah,
pretty rough.
yeah.
So okay, so you want it to come with rails, like
Yeah, so like there are aftermarket, M-Lock rails that the Caltech makes, and Caltech has a version where it comes with M-Lock rails, so that's fine. But I just wish, like, like nowadays, it's pretty common for guns to just come with rails, right? Or like, I guess there are ways to mount. There are aftermarket and ways to mount the kind of like Picatinny rails inside of the original handguard. But I'm just not a huge fan of the the stock handguard. So that would be the only thing to come with the like the Luckish Irishman Rhino handguards, which I do have. They're really nice. And the second thing would be the mag release. It's not bad, but it could be better. It's this paddle in the front of the magazine or magwell, so you just like push it back, and it does drop free if you're using like I guess loose enough mags, kind of like GI or like the Gen 1, Gen 2 P mags, and they have a good spring. Like it will rock it out, so it's not a huge problem for reload, but it would be better and faster if it has like like a linkage system, almost like a Hellion, right? Or it's like you can just like drop it out easily. Um, Otherwise, it's fully ambidextrous, so that's one of those nice things that if you watched our Beretta video, I think this is also one of the very few, I would say, this gets a point knocked off from the ARX because it's a little more involved to switch the charging handle from left to right, but otherwise it is truly ambidextrous because it ejects downwards. So like the
that's
ARX
basically cheating, though.
I mean, so like, yeah, the ARX you have to push a button to go left or right, right? But like, okay, compared to the AUG, at the AUG you can switch from left to right hand ejection, but you literally need to replace the bolt end, right? Like, it's another part. You could do it, it's possible, but it's another part. So yeah, that's how they solved it, and it's just light. It's a lightweight gun. It's small, like the 17-inch, or you can get it in 17 or 20. But like you can get a full rifle length, barrel, about the same footprint as a Mark 18. So you can like almost double the rifle. You can almost double your barrel length for the same overall length. Like it's really good trigger. Really good trigger for a bullpup.
I just wish I could get the Hunter with a pistol grip.
Yeah. Yeah. So like
exactly the same gun, but with a pistol grip instead of the rifle style grip.
You could do that with mod because the back part, the quote unquote stock, is replaceable, and you could get the Hunter basically handguard. So you could actually get really close. You would still have the flash hider, and you would have to just get the flip up sights, but it's doable. You could do that. People have it done, like, and I think I might not be able to find it, but yeah, because the handguards are interchangeable, and it actually looks kind of there it is. It actually looks kind of cool when you put a Hunter handguard on a regular.
Yeah.
So if you just replace the stock with the Hunter stock, you'd have it. So
yeah. And then basically just cut it down a little bit shorter to where it's just peeking out of the handguard.
Yeah, so that's a 17-inch barrel. So technically, you can cut it right to the gas adjustment, and then just pin and weld, and you would have a full 16-inch.
Would it still meet overall length though?
Oh, I don't think so, actually. That would be a tough one.
Like, that might be the reason why you'd have to SBR it, but only for overall
length. Yeah, but I think if you keep the original stock, then I think you would. But I think if you use the Hunter stock, like the Hunter butt pad, I think it'll be too short. But if you use the original butt pad, I think it'll be long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with doing the SBR thing. So it's like I think that having the absolute most compact version of it with a pistol grip, I
Yeah.
think would be sick.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just like Caltech put a lot of thought into this rifle. I think the ambidextrous, the AR style selector. It's more like actually, I take back. It's more an HK style selector, but also
Yeah.
very user friendly. It does have a bolt release and bolt catch. You can HK slap it, so that's always bonus points. And then adjustable gas block, which like it seems that seems like such a like a, oh, everybody can do that now, but like but then you have guns. There are still guns that people swear by that doesn't even have that option, or one that doesn't work. NASCAR, what?
Oof. Ooh. I mean, Ellis, scars are cool, man.
Yeah. But yeah, like really, they are. I think it's slept on, kind of like the AUG. I think ball pods are just too different for the American civilian market. But if you're willing to give it a try, and if you're definitely like, hey, I don't want an AR, but I want like a lot of AR like features ish, and also at a price point. Like this is you can have an RDB for under $1,000. Like you cannot find another. Huh?
The reason why the RDB is so like slept on, I guess, is because one, it's got two things going for it that's like kind of a negative. It's a bullpup, which is like too unusual for a lot of people to like adopt. But the other part of it is that it's Keltec. So it's like everybody looks at Keltec and they think like, oh, that's just like a toy gun company. Like they don't take like Keltec seriously, even though there's a lot of guns that Keltec offers now that are like basically proven platforms.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like the RDB is kind of like,
Yeah, so like the RDB gets a count. You're right. I think it gets out. And the only reason I didn't put the RDB under the AUG, even though realistically I do like the RDB better because it's cooler and lighter, and again it has a better stock trigger and controls. The only reason is the AUG is proven. It's 60 years old and it's actual battle proven. Whereas the Caltech, not quite. Would I still trust it? Yeah, but it's like one of those. It's like I would trust the AUG a little more just because it was designed for war and battle proven. Whereas Caltech,
what do you
it's
mean?
like
Caltech definitely. I mean, like didn't they just send a bunch of guns over to Ukraine?
Yeah, the sub 2K.
Their most proven platform.
But yeah, so okay, the Defender is what you're looking for. It's got the hunter stock with the short-ish barrel.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think this is minimum like overall length though. So it's like
Yeah.
So
then I'll just get the hunter handguard and put that on there, and then cut the barrel back even further.
Yeah, because this is 16-inch barrel, and I think. Yeah, I mean, unless you can convince them, it's like, hey, if I put the stock back like this, it will be overall length.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's fixed in place.
But yeah, I think this is a good gun. Like, again, for the price point, it's like if you want the features you would want. Like, yeah, you can get an AR for super. You can get a dirt cheap bargain bin AR, for also under $1,000. But you still have to start putting parts in it. Right, so it's like unless you're just like, hey, I just want a semi-automatic 223, then sure, get a bargain bin AR. But I think if you want to step up and you're not married to an AR, I think the RDB is a great choice.
Okay, so the sidearm to go with it.
I might, I would probably pick something better and more practical, but just because you went teams, so I'm gonna go Team Caltech, and that's I'm just gonna do. It's so dumb, but I'm gonna pick the PMR30.
Hey, at least my setups make sense.
What do you mean?
I mean, well, I'll have to go through the rest of them, but they're like legit setups.
What? What's wrong with what? What's wrong with the? Yeah, I mean, I don't know any.
You're not going to get the same wound vectors out of a 22 Magnum as your 5.7, okay?
Yeah, but it's okay because I have 30 rounds. Here. I have 30 rounds in my magazine, and
I can have 30 rounds too.
But you have to use an extended mag. Mine fits flush, and and it's basically like having no recoil hacks.
Yeah,
that's really the only advantage. I don't know. Like I literally just got one. It's a fun gun.
Yeah,
it's 22 WMR. Like, would I use it for? No, it's like it's like what am I using it for, right? It's like, okay, am I using it to fight wars, or am I just like, hey, I can train and shoot well in the home defense? Because
No,
it's like,
we talked about this because
mhm.
like imagine if you just carried two PMR 30s, like basically face off style on small of the back, and then like if somebody like let's say your life was under threat and then you had to draw your guns and you drew two PMR 30s, right?
Yeah,
Imagine just peppering the dude
60
with
rounds.
60 rounds of 22 Magnum. It's like, okay, you know what? All the legality stuff aside, it's like, dude, just imagine being like hit with 60 rounds of 22 mag. I don't even know, dude. I wouldn't even want to get hit by 60 rounds of 22 LR.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even want to hit. Yeah, I wouldn't even want to hit it by any of them. So it's like just the sound of it, because this thing is literally. Wait, let's see if I can find someone shooting it. Because it's like this thing is like, yeah, the muzzle flash on this is is retarded. It's a fireball maker. Like so just watching just giant muzzle flashes, I don't know, I think it's fun. I mean, I do know they make a 9 millimeter. I just saw this at the gun store. I didn't even know they made it. Which one's the P15? Is that what they call it? The
Oh, that's the new one, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even know this
Yeah.
existed, because I went to the gun store because
Yeah.
I was gonna I wanted a P17, which is a 22, and then I saw this next to it, and I was like, "What the fuck, 9 millimeter?" So I don't know how this is, but I still wouldn't pick this just because it's like I think this was meant to like be a carry gun. I don't know, like it looks kind of dumb, even
Yeah,
though
what are you
the
talking about? It
P17
looks
is cool.
super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, P17 as a carry would be sick.
Yeah, but and real quick, just to finish, then I'll switch it. I'll turn it back to Jeremy. What do I modernize it? The real joke is like, can I get it in 5.7? Like, but
Are you talking about the P15 or
no,
what?
the PMR 30.
Oh,
I don't think there's
yeah.
really anything to update. Like, I think as a platform, maybe stronger sights. Like, I'm sure the sights are fine, but like, I just don't think fiber optic sights are as um, I guess sturdy
Yeah.
as the rest. So it's like I would just
standard,
standard
iron
3 dot, or like even a blade, I think would be better. And I would make it slightly. So the slide slash barrel, it's a kind of unique design in that you have a slide that is exposed but not, like, I don't know if you can tell here in the picture, or if you look at it, but basically you're only supposed to grab the back top of it to basically rack it. So maybe make the whole thing a slide. Like it would kind of ruin the aesthetics of it, but then you have no chance of burning yourself or grabbing
Look,
a
it's a
part of
Desert
slide.
Eagle. It's a Desert Eagle.
Yeah,
man.
basically, right? But like making a larger, or at least making the part you grab in the back larger to, or have winglets to help you basically rack it. But otherwise, it's actually not a terrible gun. Really, really great trigger. That's the one thing. Like the CP33, the PMR and CMR 30, like stupidly good trigger. I don't know why. Probably because it's a 22. They're 22 strikers, so they don't need to be that powerful, I guess. So they can get a really nice and clean and light break. But otherwise, yeah, not a terrible gun. As long as you find the right ammo for it.
All right, cool. So I guess I'm gonna go into my loadout for my second choice, which is the Team Beretta. So my primary is obviously going to be my Beretta ARX100. If you really want the full details on this gun, we just released an overview video, so you can pop over there and check it out. But pretty simple setup, really, just red dot, light, sling. My barrel's cut down to 12-inch, and it's an SBR, and I got a suppressor for it and stuff. Great gun, fully ambi. I don't want to spend too much time on it just because it's. We have another video on it, so you can check that out if you really want more details on it. And then to run as a sidearm with it, I'm gonna run my M9. And so I think the M9 is kind of one of those things where it's like that hate it or love it, and I love it because it fits my hand really well, and I actually shoot the M9 very well, but it has its own stigma of like, oh, like there's like the locking block breaks and like, there's like other things about it because it's like an overly complex gun, but it's actually, a really like well performing pistol. And like I said, I do shoot it very well. The only thing that I would say that I would like for it to be different would be to have it be standard with a frame safety instead of a slide safety. I think that's kind of the only thing that sort of bugs me about the gun. It's not super easy to manipulate in terms of like gripping the back of the slide to rack with where the safety position is, and oftentimes people will engage the safety when they rack the slide. I don't love that portion of it. The other part of it is the but yeah, basically having to flip the safety in the upward position rather than in the downward position. So I would rather have it be like you push down on the thumb safety on the frame to disengage the safety to fire the weapon. So that's really my only complaint about the gun.
That's actually really smart because it's like if you flip it down, then it'll help act as winglets too to help you rack.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they didn't do that.
Yeah. And then I guess the other part of it is to modernize it. I probably honestly would just run a Leon the Professional comp, the Algemech comp, I guess, or whatever. But basically, it's like other than that, I actually think the Beretta is like a really nice gun, and I pretty much just run it as is.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's my team Beretta loadout.
Huh? I mean, that's a good choice. Yeah. Man. Yeah, I guess to close it up. Yeah. Again, if you want to hear more about the ARX, I know we kind of skim over it. We have a full video on it, so just go watch that if you want to learn more about what's good and what's bad and what we would do to really modernize it. I'll give you a hint. It's about slings. But yeah, real quick, I guess the last one, I was kind of torn. So like again, I mentioned not wanting to pick another bullpup. So and good thing he picked the F2000, so I don't have to. But yeah, I was kind of torn between whether it would be a G3 platform or like an HK style platform, like the HK93 or the SIG. And I think ultimately I'm going with the SIG. The SIG pattern rifle just because it's a SIG. And and it's stupid accurate. Really well built. It's a heavy beast still. But you know how SIG and Swiss are. It's like over engineered, super well built. I probably should have just used the P210 with this. Because that would actually make more sense. But no, I didn't go in any rhyme or team or reason. And you picked the 5.7, so I had to pick the PMR. But yeah, probably the 5.50 just because I like rifles and it's a extremely accurate kind of service rifle that I would just use to shoot groups and long range just for fun. They do have like carbine versions, right? With the 5.51, which is like the 14.5 carbine, and then you have like your Commando Mark 18 style, which is like the short, 5.53. Actually, the 5.53 is even short. It's like a 7 or 9 inch barrel. But yeah, it's 9. I think it's 9 inch, which actually would be great if they made a 300 blackout version of it. But
I think they do actually.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but they actually do make a 300 blackout one.
That is cool. But yeah, like 5.50, and what do I do to modernize or change it? Not a goddamn thing. Like it's
it's perfect as is.
I think it's actually perfect as is. It's like for what it is, right? It's like you're right. You can complain. It's like, oh, the charging handle's on one side like an AK, and it's like, yeah, but that's not a huge detriment. I think charging handle is like some people get hung up on it, but like it's not like the AR charging handle is perfect either, right? Like. So it's like, I think the controls make sense. You got paddle release, ambidextrous. You got, HK or like lever. This is more of an M4 because it's like you just flip it down directly over the pistol grip. And yeah, I don't really good diopter sights. And you can still get, Picatinny mounts. And I guess the only thing would be like if I really needed to mount light laser foregrip, whatever. It's like I could just get the Picatinny quad rail handguard, even though it just looks uglier, but you could do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's will be my third choice just because it's cool as fuck and you can still get it. It's just exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing where it's like it's basically unattainable right now in terms of like unless you have like so much money you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess my last choice is also going to be Team Sig.
No.
So one of my favorite setups is the LVAW MCX and the 300 blackout with a 6.75-inch barrel.
Is that
We
a non-AR
also have a
though?
video on this.
Is that a non-AR though?
Yeah, it's totally a non-AR. It is totally a non-AR. I mean, well, I guess it's like the other part of it is that it's like I don't really have that many other non-AR guns, but it's like technically it's more of like, well, I don't know. I mean, it is kind of similar to an AR, but it's
no,
like
we'll say it's different.
I think that was my backup. That was like my like that's why it's my third choice, right? It wasn't my first choice because it's like okay, it is kind of similar to an AR, so it is a little bit cheating, but technically it's not.
I'll give it to you because it doesn't have a buffer tube.
Yeah, the folding stock was what I was gonna say. It's like the fact that you can shoot it folded, and also like the whole like integrally suppressed thing and all that jazz. So I think like that's gonna be my third choice is the Sig MCX in the Legacy version. None of this Virtus or BRLT BS. So yeah, original Gen 1 MCX. And I also have the 11.5-inch barrel system for it in 5.56. I can switch back and forth between those. And then I'm going to run mine with a 226 non-railed.
Classic.
And I'm going to run it with a threaded barrel and an Omega 9K so I can have both of my guns suppressed. So I have the LVAW with integrally suppressed, and then I have my 226 suppressed, and this one is for taking care of business, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't. Like
going to shoot at the range, but being quiet. Everyone else, it's a very respectful environment. It's very business-like.
Right. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, would you change anything if you had to on the 226?
Well, so it's interesting because it's like the only thing I would change on the 226 is something that actually I could change if I wanted to, but I want to get rid of the serrated trigger that's on it and just put a smooth face trigger on there. And I think having a slightly thinner trigger blade would be better because the trigger blade on mine is pretty wide. The other thing I would probably change is I'd probably lighten up the hammer spring a little bit because the double action on it's pretty heavy. But other than that, my 226, I love it. I think it's pretty much good to go. Yeah. I always struggle between, like, I think aesthetically, the original non-railed looks better to me, but having a rail system and putting, like, a light on it is, like, obviously it's useful and has its own aesthetic. So, like, having, for instance, the Mark 25 with, like, an X300 on it, I think is super cool looking. But it's also one of those things where it's like, I love the aesthetic of the non-railed, like just super clean. And especially with a suppressor, I just think it looks better with like no light on it. But, that's just like a first world problem. Like you just have to throw more money at it and just buy 2 SIGs basically.
The 226 was on my list of what was the contender for my list, but I ended up not picking it just because I just don't like shooting. I'm just not very good at shooting it. I don't know. Like it's cool, but I just don't like it.
I think the single action is where it really shines because it's super light. And so like the trigger pull being super short and it's light, it just like makes it so for me at least when I shoot single action, it's great. It's just the double action that kills me. So it's kind of like when they talk about how guys who run double action, single action guns sometimes will just burn the first round and then they'll go right into single action. It's like I totally resonate with that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's well, yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Some of our non AR and non Glock, um, non AR and non Glock options, right? And I think it's interesting that we kind of took different approaches to it, because I think like yours is definitely like a lot more practical, like from a user like perspective. As in, like, like you basically just talk about like, hey, I have this gun, or I have access to, or I've used these guns, and then like how I would improve it is like I would just like get the accessory, like how I would set it up, basically. Whereas like I think I came more of like a design like aspect, because I was more like, what would I physically change, like like from the factory, like ground floor, rather than like there's not like an accessory that I could get to, like, or how to set it up. It's just interesting that like that's how our mind jumps, right? It's like I didn't even think about how I would run the gun. I was just like, this is like the base gun, and how would I change it? Like the accessories, everything else on top of it, I mean, obviously they matter, but I didn't even think about it when I was like doing my homework.
Because I'm a builder, and I mean, I'm a shooter, and you're a builder.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true. Yeah. So like, I think they're all good choices. Like whether you agree or disagree, leave a comment below, and or just stick to Glocks and ARs, because it's like, I get it, right? Like for the longest time, I just didn't want to use AR or Glocks, just because, well, everybody else does it. And even when I did use ARs, I didn't use anything that was that came after 2000, basically. I think I think I just hit like early 2000s. I don't have M-Lock yet, but I do have quad rails. So,
You're not even allowed to get M-Lock rails for your ARs. That's just illegal.
Yeah. So, right now I'm on a quad rail M4, which, serves a purpose, works great.
It's right there, yeah.
It's old reliable, right? It's, and I know I trust it, and I know how to use it. And same thing, I only recently got into Glocks and started shooting a lot more and shooting better. And like, I get it. It's just, if you can't beat them, join them, I guess.
Well, I applaud you if you made it this far through this podcast, because we started to devolve at the end there a little bit. But basically, just let us know, like, what kind of weird guns do you run that are not ARs and not Glocks? Or, if you do just run ARs and run Glocks, it's like, oh, let us know, like, if there's something that has interested you, or like if this kind of made you think about, like, oh, like what else, like what other types of platforms would I run? But yeah, just let us know what you think in the comments below. And thanks for tuning in to another TTPS.
All right. Final pop quiz. All right, off the top of the head, because it just came from me after looking at my gun. Well, okay. Quick. Favorite non MP5 SMG.
Oh God, PS90.
Damn it! I was gonna pick that
too. Well, what's yours? Non MP5 SMG.
PS90, obviously.
No, I already picked that. You can't pick that one.
No. Fuck you. It's fine. I'm picking it.
UMP, obviously.
No, that's a wrong answer. I was like, literally, that's the wrong answer. No. Got it. Scorpion.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty good one.
The original Scorpion, none of this fucking Evo 3 bullshit. I want the original VZ Scorpion.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm really partial to the new APCs now. The new APCs are sick.
I need to play with one. I haven't played with one yet.
APC 9K, and then and basically APC 9K with the telescopic stock, because it gets like super small. But the other thing is, some of their new SD offerings are tight. And it's just like, basically, APC is cope for MP5 with AR controls. and
takes Glock mags.
Yeah. Well, so there are, because like they have like different lowers you can get to change the mag. So you can run Glock mags, you can run the B&T mags, and I think there's one more mag type that you can change. Oh, SIG, you can run the 320 mags.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Oh wait, no. Trick answer. Steyr AUG with 9mm kit.
Oh my god. Get out of here, dude. Oh, I'm just gonna run my AR with a 9mm conversion kit in it.
Yeah, but it's not an AR, so and not an MP5, so it fits both
Yeah.
fits both categories. It's fine.
Okay, this is over.